Rishaya uchuhu yadyevam devata vignam acharanti tanubhritam paurusham tatra kashyasti yena muktir bhavishyati. The sages asked, if in this manner the gods themselves create obstacles to the embodied soul, who has the power by which liberation could be obtained by all? Satyang Sūtatmaja bruhi tatropayo stivanava Sūta uvacha Koti janmarjitai punyai shive bhakti prajayate. O son of Sūta, tell us the truth, whether there is any way or not. Sūta said, devotion towards Shiva is born by virtue of the merits acquired in millions of births. iṣṭā pūrta karmani te nacharati manavaha shivarpanadiya kaman parityajya yata vidhi. Because of the need of the individual's own effort and his moral freedom implied by it, along with God's grace for release, man performs the good works of iṣṭā and pūrta in an attitude of offering, worship unto Shiva in the prescribed manner, renouncing desires. Anugraha sangbhorjayate sudridho naraha tato bhita pralayante vignang hitva sureshwaraha. Steadfastness of mind in the devotee is brought about by the grace of Lord Shiva. Consequently, the gods, stopping their hindrances, take to flight in fright. Jayate tena sushrusha charite chandramolinaha srinvato jayate jnanam jnanadeva vimuchyate. Because of the removal of all obstacles, desire arises to hear the glories of the Lord Chandramoli, Shiva who wears the crescent moon on his head. From hearing the glories of the Lord, knowledge is born, and by that knowledge alone, the devotee is liberated. Bahunatra vimuktena yasya bhakti shive dridha Mahapapo papapauga kotigrastopi muchyate. What is the use of dilating on this? One in whom devotion to Lord Shiva is steadfast is liberated, even though he be fastened by numberless mortal and minor sins. Sangsara bandhanat tasmad anyako vastimudadhi. Therefore, is there any person who is so deluded in mind that he is incapable of being released from the bondage of transmigration by devotion to Shiva? Namaste. And the answer to that rhetorical question is no. Why is that? Because Shiva, unlike other gods, specifically Vishnu, is open to everyone. He does not deny his presence, influence, love, or liberation to anyone, regardless of their position, who develops devotion to him. And why is that? Because he is all-powerful. His power is unlimited. He can purify anyone. So anyone and everyone can take shelter of him and attain the highest liberation by his grace. That's the power of Shiva. So let's go back and look at the question that the sages asked. If the gods are against people attaining liberation and thereby stopping all their other religious duties and performances, who is there who is more powerful than them, who can override their antipathy and make spiritual progress regardless? And specifically, who has the power by which liberation could be attained by all? If God is really all-powerful, then why would anyone be eliminated or discriminated against? If God is universal, the liberation should be available to everyone, every being, regardless of their condition or background or anything. And Sūta Goswami goes on to answer this. And he says, devotion towards Shiva is born by merits acquired in millions of births. In other words, there is a way, and the way is devotion to Shiva. But it's not cheap. It's born by meritorious actions in millions of births. So you can't just, go down to the local 7-Eleven and purchase it, or the local temple. And we see this all the time. One time I was a pujari in a temple, and this Indian couple came to visit. And it just so happened it was time for the offering. And so I was making the offering the arti and the lamps and all that stuff. And I could see the wife was like in ecstasy. She was just like, wow, this is great. And he was like checking his watch, how long is this going to take? When could we get out of here? Ho-hum. He was bored. What's the difference? She has paid the price. She has created vasanas, which means mental tendencies created in a past life that show up in this life as desires and tastes and inclinations. So she has developed vasanas in a previous life that incline her towards devotion, whereas he has not. This cannot be faked. It cannot be done artificially. It cannot be done in a hurry. And it cannot be done in any other way but by glorifying, hearing, chanting, studying, and glorifying, doing seva, offering very valuable, beautiful things to Shiva. And up to and including one's very self, one's heart, one's mind, one's intentions, everything. Then Shiva will respond. So what does he go on to say? The need is there for the individual's own effort and desires. So in other words, you can't go to any guru, you can't go to any temple or any scripture and beg, please give me devotion to Shiva. I mean, that's a nice idea. It's a nice sentiment, but it won't lead to the desired result. Why? Because you yourself have to perform the actions that lead to this devotion. You cannot purchase it by some deal. Oh, Guruji, I'll serve you and give you money and whatever, and then you give me devotion, okay? I mean, there are some gurus who actually, offer this, but it's not true. It's not real. The best they can do is give you the opportunity to do the seva by maintaining a temple or giving you instructions how to perform the sacrifices and so forth, which is what's going on here in the Shiva Gita. This Gita will contain explicit, detailed instructions how to please Lord Shiva. And if you follow them, you will get the result, guaranteed. But you have to do the work. There's no shortcut. There's no special deal, today only. You have to dedicate your life. As simple as that. If you can do that, you will be successful. But if you try to cheat, Shiva can cheat you better than you can cheat anybody. He's a joker. I mean, this whole material creation, the Maya, is so incredible. You can't surpass it by your own efforts. You have to attract his Anugraha, his blessing, his mercy, his grace. So what else? You have to do iṣṭā and pūrta. Iṣṭā means regulated service, as described in the scriptures, and pūrta means the spontaneous feelings of your heart. And the way you develop these feelings is by hearing and glorifying Shiva. You have to hear about him and understand his amazing qualities. And this will lead to love. The Bhakti Shastras say that love is developed by hearing about the good qualities of the beloved. So if you want to attain love of Shiva, hear his glories from the scriptures. I can very heartily recommend Shiva Purana. And we have a whole series on Shiva Purana that you can watch and hear these glories recited, even though we're not very expert in such things. You can hear them, and this will lead to developing love for Shiva. And out of that love, service will come spontaneously. By your own will, you will want to glorify and serve him. And that leads step by step to liberation, realization of the Supreme Brahman. And the important thing is that you have to renounce desires. To lead to steadiness of mind, you have to stop entertaining these thoughts of, wouldn't that be nice? Or shouldn't I meet this girl or this guy? Wouldn't that be wonderful? Or, on the other hand, aversion. That, don't let me get sick. Don't let me get old. Don't let me die. It's nonsense. It's going to happen anyway. But you have to develop the steadiness of mind to deal with it. And again, how do you do that? By service to Shiva. By making Shiva the focal point of your mind. Thinking always of him. Reciting his mantras constantly, from the first moment when you wake up in the morning until you go to sleep at night. That's full immersion in the consciousness of Shiva. And that will lead to the devotion that transcends everything. And of course, by this time, the gods will run away because they don't want to conflict with Shiva. Anyone who Shiva is favorable towards is immune from interference by the other gods because they are his subordinates. He is the one who empowers them. He is the one who solves their problems when they run up against a situation they can't handle. And they are very, very careful not to displease him. So if Shiva becomes favorable toward you, you are protected. That's what Rudra means to protect. He is the protector. When the obstacles of desires and the unsteadiness of the mind is removed by practice of mantra and contemplation, study of the scriptures, and puja, and so on, you will gain the desire to please Lord Chandramoli, he's described as, with the crescent moon on his head. And this is actually the most wonderful benediction because it leads to everything good, everything noble, everything beneficial, and ultimately to liberation from this samsara, repeated birth and death. And isn't that what you want? Isn't that what everyone wants, really? Huh? Not these trivial desires for things that come and go, all temporary, all imperfect, all unsatisfactory in the end. But the one thing that never ceases to amaze and give wonder and beauty to life, which is liberation, the end of all suffering, the arisal of pure transcendental knowledge. And what is that knowledge? Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. Shivoham, I am qualitatively identical to Shiva. And that is the object of all spiritual life. Om Tat Sat. Om Shakti Om. Om Namah Shivaya.